Yo, listen, this ain't your normal HOA drama. This story turns a quiet front lawn into straight-up battlefield energy. If you've ever dealt with a power-crazy HOA Karen, buckle up, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and let's roll. The morning the war officially started, the neighborhood looked peaceful, like nothing bad could ever happen here. Sunlight touched the rooftops, birds hopped across driveways, and the world pretended to be normal. But my front lawn was already marked as the next battleground in the HOA's never-ending crusade against anyone who dared challenge their authority. It began with something small, something so painfully petty it almost felt scripted. A bright yellow notice stuck into my grass, fluttering in the breeze like a warning flag planted by an invading army. It accused me of violating community aesthetic standards. No details, no explanation, just a threat of fines. I picked the notice up, confused. My lawn was trimmed, edged, watered, and green, better than half the houses on the block. But the HOA saw something they didn't like, and instead of talking to me, they started the war. Later that afternoon, Karen showed up. Not a Karen, the HOA Karen. Oversized sunglasses, clipboard like a weapon, lips pursed like she had tasted vinegar. She walked across my property with the confidence of someone who believed the earth itself belonged to her. She didn't knock. She didn't call. She just planted herself on my lawn like a general surveying enemy territory. She said the decorations near my walkway weren't pre-approved. Then she said the grass color was too vibrant. Then she claimed my lawn edges were non-standard angles. Whatever that meant. Every sentence ended with a threat. Fines. Hearings. Forced compliance. I tried being polite because that's what normal people do. But Karen wasn't here to talk. She was here to dominate. That night, I found her again in my yard, this time taking pictures. No permission. Flashing lights, documenting every inch like she was collecting evidence for a crime scene. My own front lawn turned into surveillance territory. Day after day, more notices appeared. Different colors. Different codes, each one more aggressive than the last. The HOA bylaws became weapons, pages ripped from the rule book to justify whatever they wanted. Neighbors whispered about them. Some were scared to speak up. Some had already been broken down. Others had quietly paid just to avoid trouble. But I wasn't built like that. The HOA made their first real mistake when Karen marched onto my property without authorization again, this time with 2 board members. They paced across my grass, measuring random distances, arguing among themselves about what rule they could twist into an attack. One of them stepped on my solar lights, shattering them. Another scuffed the fresh mulch I had installed. They laughed, like destroying someone's hard work was part of their job description. But I stayed quiet. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I didn't fight back. Not yet, because the moment I saw Karen's smug grin, something clicked inside me. She thought she was untouchable. Untouchable people are always sloppy, and sloppy people leave evidence. So I started collecting. Hidden cameras on the porch, a dash cam pointed at the yard, microphones near the walkway, timestamps, dates, complete documentation of every violation they committed. The next escalation came fast, faster than anyone expected. One morning I woke up to find red spray paint across my lawn. Not letters, not words, just thick angry lines drawn through the grass like someone was crossing out the entire yard. The HOA accused me of doing it to fake harassment. Karen said it with a straight face, like she believed her own lie. They fined me again. That was the moment the war became official. Because if they wanted a battle, they were about to get one. I went digging into public HOA records, budgets, meeting minutes, expense reports. Took days, but eventually, it all surfaced. Proof of everything they hoped nobody would ever find. Misused maintenance funds, fake invoices, emergency budget approvals with no signatures, selective enforcement targeting certain homeowners, fines collected but never documented. Karen's name was all over it. While they fought me on the lawn, their downfall was quietly loading in the background. The turning point hit when I caught Karen on camera stepping into my yard at 6:14 in the morning. Scissors in hand, clipping the edge of my lawn to make the borders uneven, to create a violation she could fine me for. The audio caught her saying, "Let's see him explain this one." That was it. The moment the smoke cleared and I finally saw the battlefield for what it truly was. This wasn't about grass, or decorations, or angles. This was about power. And I was done playing defense. The next morning began differently. Not with a violation notice, not with Karen's shadow stretching across my lawn, not with whispers from neighbors scared of retaliation. It began with silence. And in that silence, the shift began. Karen walked up the street like she always did, wearing that same commander posture. But today, she wasn't just being watched by my cameras. Today, the whole neighborhood was watching me. I had finally shared what I found. I went door to door the night before, quietly, calmly, showing neighbors the video of Karen cutting my grass to fabricate violations. Showing them the spray paint analysis proving it wasn't my brand. Showing them the financial inconsistencies in the HOA's budget documents. Everywhere I went, people reacted the same way, shock first, anger second, fear turning into courage. People who had suffered in silence were suddenly ready to talk. Stories spilled out. A neighbor fined for a lawn ornament that wasn't even his. A single mom charged extra for a fence she'd already been approved for. An older couple threatened with foreclosure over a $73 misunderstanding. Karen had been terrorizing the neighborhood for years, and nobody connected the dots until now. By the next HOA meeting, the room was full, packed to the walls with homeowners who were done being bullied. Karen sat at the front with her board members, trying to look composed. But fear cracks through even the thickest masks. The meeting began with routine business. But I wasn't there for routine. I requested the floor. Karen tried to deny it, of course she did, but the room erupted. Voices rose. People demanded I be heard. So I walked to the front, placed a folder on the table, and hit play. The room fell dead silent as the screen showed Karen trespassing on my lawn, bending over, trimming the border herself, whispering, "Let's see him explain this one." Her mouth dropped open. The board members froze. A murmur spread across the room like a spark. Then came the financial records, the missing funds, the unapproved spending, the proof of selective enforcement, the testimonies from neighbors. Every lie unraveled. Every mask slipped. Karen tried to defend herself. She tried to shout. She tried to blame me. Blame the neighbors. Blame miscommunication. But the evidence was too heavy. The room too angry. The trust too broken. And then, the final blow. I handed over my last recording, the one from the HOA's own landscaping contractor. The contractor admitted Karen had been paying him under the table to report false violations on houses she didn't like. The room exploded. By the time the shouting stopped, the decision had already been made. Karen was removed from the HOA board. The other corrupt members resigned under pressure. The HOA was placed under emergency review. Every fine Karen had issued in the last 2 years voided. Every violation erased. Every homeowner refunded. But the biggest blow came 2 weeks later. A legal notice arrived confirming that the district attorney's office had opened an investigation into the HOA's finances. Karen and 2 board members were facing charges: fraud, harassment, and misuse of community funds. The same front lawn she once treated like her personal battlefield now stood as the symbol of her collapse. Neighbors who once looked defeated now waved, smiled, and thanked me. Kids played outside again. Decorations went up. Colors returned to the neighborhood. The HOA was rebuilt from the ground up, with transparency, fairness, and accountability. And as for my lawn, perfectly trimmed, perfectly edged, perfectly peaceful. The war was over, and the homeowner won.